Happy Halloween! Pull up a chair, fasten your seatbelt, and get ready for probably the weirdest Halloween franchise ranking you've ever seen. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Nick here, and I want to wish you guys all a very happy Halloween. Whatever you're doing today, I hope you guys live it up. Enjoy every bit of those 24 hours that is October 31st. I hope you all stay safe. I hope you are happy. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it's great. Fantastic. Don't let it get away. It only comes once a year, and we all always wait for it. Now, I had been asked to do this multiple times, and you guys have seen me do videos recently where it seems like I might be wavering on certain positions that I once had. So I decided for Halloween this year, I'm going to give you guys my updated Halloween franchise ranking. Now, if you're new to my channel, or even just semi-new, understand something. I am warning you before you get into this video that my ranking is going to be wildly different than anything you've ever seen. And I have very good reasons for that. So without further ado, let's get right into it. And coming in at number 13, the weakest movie in the Halloween franchise is easily Halloween Resurrection. Look, I know this movie has its defenders, and I'm not here to tell you guys you're wrong if you like Halloween Resurrection. I'm just simply not. I know there's reasons to like it. I know a lot of people find it campy and fun, and it's just harmless. That's totally fine. For me, I find it to be a bastardization of the character of Laurie Strode and Michael Myers, for that matter. See, Laurie is thrown out with the bathwater at the beginning in such an unrealistic and just truly maddening way, and then you get what you think is going to be a cool idea of Michael Myers having no motive anymore, and he's just a mindless killer. But really, we're just spending 60 minutes on a soundstage with a bunch of unlikable characters, some really bad dialogue, some shitty effects, and it's just overall not a great time. Coming in at number 12 is going to be Rob Zombie's Halloween. Now, as I've said in previous videos, from this point forward, including this movie, these are all movies that I have a lot of love for very particular reasons. But Rob Zombie's Halloween comes in at number 12. And I'll just say, I have really enjoyed this movie in recent years on rewatches. I went through weird phases. I loved it when it came out. I didn't really care for it. And now I'm like, you know what? I've got a soft spot for this movie. But I gotta tell you guys, the first half of this movie brings it down so hard for me. I love the second half of this movie. I think it's so fun. But even if you're someone that enjoys the first half of this movie, and I'm not one of those people, I think the reason why I have this second to last is just because I feel like Rob Zombie's hands were tied. This wasn't really the Halloween movie he wanted to make. I love the mask, I love Myers, I love the characters, I love the score. I think so much about this movie is good, but it just kind of feels soulless at the end of the day. It doesn't really feel like Rob's vision. And we'll get to that in a little bit. Now, what is probably going to be the surprise of the video for you guys is at number 11, Halloween 2018. Now, hear me out on this one, guys. Look, Halloween 2018 was a movie that I was so excited to go see. I could not wait for it to come out. It had been a decade since Michael Myers had been on the screen, and I just wanted to see him back. And the added bonus of bringing Jamie Lee Curtis back was just icing on the cake for me. And even when I first saw the movie opening night, I was underwhelmed. And I thought as time would, go on that I would really warm to this movie and start to love it. But it just never happened. There's so much about this movie that is really good. Jamie Lee Curtis, the mask, the music, the effects. There's a lot to love about this movie. There's also a lot about this movie that is just never going to cut it for me. I think some of the dialogue is terrible. I think some of the acting by certain side characters is not good. And I think overall, it just felt like such a watered down retread of a much better movie that we'd already seen. Yes, I know. Wow, crazy. This is my first switch up. If you guys have watched me for any amount of time, you're probably like, holy crap. But you should have seen this coming based off of some of the recent videos I've done. So although I can laud its technical abilities and all the things that are going for it, Halloween 2018 is number 11 for me. And if you thought that was going to be the end of me changing up my list a little bit, well, you were dead wrong. Because coming in at number 10 is going to be Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. And I know a lot of you guys just turned the video off, punched your keyboard, whatever it is. Hear me out here, okay? Again, just my opinion. This list is totally subjective. This is a movie that I loved growing up. And I still have a lot of love for the movie. I just watched it last night. But as time has gone on, I found that a lot of that love was rooted in nostalgia. And that's okay. But there's a lot that is left to be desired with this movie, whether it's the mask, whether it's some of the characters, whether it's just playing it too safe. I feel like Halloween 4 could have been a much bigger swing, and they showed that at the end, but I feel like a lot of it is just stuff we've seen before, but seen done way better. So while I give credit where it's due with some of the cinematography, with some of the fall atmosphere, and with Danielle Harris's performance in particular, and Donald Pleasance, there's a lot left to be desired for me. So Halloween 4, right now, it's sitting at number 10. Coming in at number 9 is going to be Halloween H2O. Now, this is one that has gone up a couple spots from my most recent video, which was probably about 2 years or so ago. And I think that is because of the David Gordon Green trilogy. Looking back now, after getting that trilogy, I've really been able to go, you know what? I really prefer this version of Laurie Strode. I like this version of Laurie Strode. She's damaged, she's scarred, but she's also a badass. And I don't know, the brother-sister thing is just something that, while nostalgic, sure, it also just makes more sense to me. Because at this point, Michael Myers, the mythos of Michael Myers, the Spectre, was long gone. It had been explained away time and time again to the point where he wasn't that figure that people saw him as in 1978. So if we just strip it down and it's like, well, it's a familial thing, that's a far more reasonable explanation than some of the stuff we got. But I think Jamie Lee is great in this movie. Again, there's a lot to not like about this movie. The mask fiasco, the music, and it really feels teeny boppy in 90s. But the stuff about it that is good is so damn good that I just feel like it takes it over Halloween 4 for me. Coming in at number 8 for me is going to be Halloween 2 from 1981. And I know that this is a lot of fans' favorite. It's top 2, top 3 in the series for them. And I totally get why. It is pretty much a perfect marriage with the original film. There's a lot to love about this movie. Michael Myers is still just as good as he was in the first movie, even though I don't like some of the robotic walk. There's a lot of great characters throughout this movie. Jimmy, Bud, a lot to love about Halloween 2. There's also a lot that just stands out to me. I don't feel like tonally at times it really does match well with the first movie, but its cardinal sin is the bulk, the meat of this movie is really boring. It's just kind of empty hallways and nothing going on and synthesizer music that's supposed to create fear. And for some people, that isolation and that dread really comes across. But for me, it just never really did. In the middle of this movie, there's just not much going on. Having said that, I know Halloween 2 is a great film technically, and quite frankly, guys, it's almost in the top half of my ranking, so I'm not exactly dumping on the movie. But when it comes to my favorites, it's not one of my personal favorites, so I'm sticking it at number 8. Coming in at number 7, smack dab in the middle of my franchise ranking, is Halloween Kills. Now, this one was probably a spot or two higher last time, but again, a couple rewatches since then, and I've really landed where I am with it now. Look, Halloween Kills gets so much right. I mean, Michael Myers has probably never been more badass than he is in this movie. He is truly unstoppable. The attention to detail, the callbacks, the Easter eggs, the cameos. There's so much that a fan will just absolutely eat up about Halloween Kills. The music's great, all of it. However, there is no plot. None. And for me, you might go, well, it's a slasher movie, it doesn't need one. And I've made that argument before too. But I guess I always kind of viewed Halloween as a little more highbrow. So I kind of prefer when they have a little bit of a plot. There's a little meat on the bone there. This truly just is the middle movie of a trilogy where Michael Myers gets to run loose on Haddonfield. And I obviously like it well enough because it's right in the middle of my franchise ranking. But I needed a little bit more there. And also the mismarketing of this movie, making it think that Laurie and Michael were going to have this back and forth throughout the entire movie, and then to find out that Laurie's hardly in the movie at all. It's definitely something that stands out. Not to mention Evil Dies Tonight. So Halloween Kills right in the middle. Coming in at number 6 is going to be, fittingly, Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. Now, this one is just outside the top 5, but oh my god, do I love this movie. I have loved this movie since the second time I watched it. And I say that because the first time I watched it, I caught it on AMC when I was a kid. I was like, that was terrible. That was so stupid. What was this plot? Then when you get brushed up on the lore, 20 plus years ago, and you have that time to really get adjusted to it, the Thorn trilogy specifically, I feel like most people really start to enjoy this movie, if not just outright love it. Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers is so damn heavy metal, literally with the score, but the way Michael Myers is. This movie is dark, it's mean, he's brooding again. George P. Wilbur absolutely dunks on himself from Halloween 4. Like, I can't even believe it's the same guy because the performances are not at all the same. In look and presentation, none of it. I think the atmosphere in this movie is probably the best the franchise has ever had. Like, I'd go back and forth with that, but I think it might be the best we've ever had. The kills are gnarly, and yes, the plot is convoluted, but we all know the backstory about Halloween 6. And look, it's just mean. It's unforgiving. I love Halloween 6. It comes in at number 6. Now we're in the top 5. And if Halloween 2 and Halloween 2018 being outside the top 5 didn't anger you enough, just wait till you hear my top 5. Coming in at number 5 is going to be Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Now this is one that I didn't need to warm up to. I knew going in that it wasn't going to have Michael Myers in it. And I was like 10 years old. So that was already set in stone for me. So I went in with an open mind. And I freaking loved it. I loved it for what it was. And I remember my mom like basically looking at me like I had two heads. The fact that I liked this movie. She's like, are you kidding me? No, I'm not kidding you. I love Halloween 3. Look, there's so much about the movie that is great that I don't need to harp on. But like Tom Atkins, Dan O'Herlihy as Conal Cochran is like truly one of the best 80s horror villains. Like, he's deliciously evil. I love everything about it. I love how far-fetched some of this movie is. We just somehow get a piece of Stonehenge here. We somehow put pieces of Stonehenge into these tags on the back of these masks that somehow with the frequency on the TV is just going to cause your head to rot and bugs and snakes to come out. Like, there's so much about the movie that is just like, when you think about it, you're like, holy crap, like that is just so out there, and I love it for that. But this movie really took a swing. It swung for the fences. It's also got a great atmosphere, great characters, great effects for the time. There's just so much about this movie that I love. And that score, chef's kiss. Halloween 3, that's number 5. Now this top 4 has been the hardest for me. I have gone back and forth. I have parsed through it. I have thought about where I currently sit today with these movies, and this is where I am today. And if you know anything about my 2 to 4, they're like always, well, no, not my 2 to 4. My 3 and 4 are always flip-flopping. So today, number 4 is Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. Yes, I know, Halloween 5. So many people love to dump on this movie. I love Halloween 5. And I will admit that nostalgia does play a role in that because it's the first one I ever saw out of the entire series as a small kid. Having said that, I feel justified and kind of vindicated as years have gone on because more and more people have come around to 5. Is it true that some of it takes swings that it doesn't necessarily connect on? Absolutely. But guess what? The movie really tries to be something different. It has a different style, a different flair, a different tone. Part of that is the direction. Part of that is the acting. There's just something about this movie. It's such an oddball. It stands out. And I would make an argument for the better. I think that Danielle Harris is so much better in this movie because she is truly the lead. And yes, I am someone that loves Tina. But just like Halloween 6 after this movie, it is very mean. It's a lot darker and it just gives off these like Italian horror vibes, and I just eat that up. This movie has always had a special place in my heart. And I know that objectively speaking, it's not a top 4 movie in the series. But this is a subjective list, and that's why I have it at number 4. And if you guys are new to me, these next 2 are going to piss a lot of you off. Coming in at number 3 is going to be Halloween Ends. Yes, I know. No, I'm not one of those people that's kind of coming around to it and jumping on the bandwagon now because they think it's popular to like it. No, I've liked it since day one. Anybody that's been around knows that. I've liked it since day one. Not just liked it, I've loved it. The response I had after watching this movie, sitting in that theater as the credits came up, was something that I hadn't felt for a Halloween movie since 2009. I mean, it blew me away. In so many ways, it was just really impactful and meaningful for me. And a lot of people talk about that fight sequence with Laurie and being the end of Laurie versus Michael Myers. And while that is impactful, and it definitely did get to me, I found everything else about the movie to be so much better. The fact that Halloween was trying to branch out and tell a new story about the evil itself, and giving that to a character like Corey Cunningham, where love or hate the character, Rowan Campbell gives this role his all. You feel bad for this kid, and you're almost like rooting for him to take the power back. Like, you don't deserve this. Nobody deserves this. No, I'm not advocating for what he did, but it's a movie. And I just think that this is the movie of the trilogy of David Gordon Green's where it felt like David really knew what he wanted to do. Love it or hate it, I feel like it is the most cohesive. I feel like it makes the most narrative sense. And I feel like you get the best performances, the best dialogue, and some of the best moments in his trilogy in this movie. So I understand why this movie is so widely hated. But not for me. Now, if that wasn't controversial enough, coming in at number 2 is going to be Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Now, I have made many a video on my channel about this movie, and one of them is one of my most viewed videos ever on my channel, where I did kind of like a video essay breakdown for like a half hour on Halloween 2 and why I think it is so good. Now, I'm not going to get into all of that, okay? I'm not going to keep you guys here all night. You can watch that video on my channel if you'd like to. Halloween 2 is a movie to me where not only is this my second favorite Halloween movie, it's easily my favorite Rob Zombie movie, and I think it was the perfect marriage. Rob got to be himself and truly do something totally different while still having enough of what makes Halloween Halloween to make this fit in the series. Look, this movie is dark, it's unforgiving, it's mean, and it is truly nihilistic. But at its core, it is a movie about trauma, about PTSD, about loss and grief, and how sometimes sad reality in this world is that we don't always come out of that. Sometimes we succumb to that darkness like Laurie does in this movie, like Annie does in this movie. And it's a sad reality, but it is a reality, something that we as humans have to grapple with sometimes. Sometimes life just sucks. And that's kind of what this movie is about. The performances are great. I absolutely love the effects. I love the atmosphere. There's so much about this movie that I find to just be top tier. It is number 2 for me. And I shouldn't really even have to give a long diatribe about my number 1. It is still Halloween 1978. And I know some of you guys watching, when I do these videos every couple years, are hoping and praying maybe he's going to put H2 at number 1. And the reason I don't is solely because none of these exist without the original Halloween. Halloween is the blueprint. You get the basis of and the bones of these characters from that movie and the motivations from that movie. But it's not just that. I do think that Halloween 1978 is truly a tour de force in horror filmmaking and really just filmmaking in general. I think that it is from front to back a phenomenal film. And I would seriously argue with anybody that disagrees with me. I've seen people say sometimes, oh, it's boring. They'll say that about old movies in general. That is not an argument you're going to win. On a technical level, it is just a phenomenal film. Phenomenal from start to finish. It is iconic. It birthed a franchise that is arguably today the strongest in the game. I would argue, based off of what we saw from that trilogy's performance just at the box office in the last few years, I think Michael Myers is at the top. This is something that's been around for almost 50 years, and we owe all of it to John Carpenter in that movie from 1978. So as much as you guys might want me one day to slip over and go, you know what? I'm never going to do it, because I'm always going to respect the greats, and Halloween 1978 is the GOAT. Whew, okay. That was a lot of talking and a lot of hot takes. I know, I'm aware, this is nothing new to me. But if through watching this video you found that we are alike, you felt a kinship, you feel understood, you feel seen, you feel like your wild and wacky Halloween ranking isn't that wild anymore, share it with me down below in the comments section. If you think I'm a total nut job that has no idea what they're talking about and you want to set the record straight for yourself, let me know down below. But whatever it is, as long as it's Halloween, let's talk about it. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. And again, I want to wish you all a very happy Halloween. Enjoy it, because after today, it's over for another year. So thank you guys so much again for watching. Please leave a like on the video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. This is Nick at the Lost River Drive-In, and I'm pulling out.